Hi, I'm Hannah Shepley.
And I'm Sarah Walter, and we're here to talk about a really important issue, which is animal abuse. Each year we live on Earth, billions of animals are killed to be used for human profit. Among the huge number, both domesticated and wild animals are murdered in cruel ways because of the needs and wants of humans.
Although there are many different forms of animal cruelty, today we're just going to mention a few and some of the most deadliest types of it.
One serious problem that wild animals are facing is being held in captivity against their will. One example, which I'm sure some of you have heard of, is the situation at SeaWorld. Many of the orcas there were captured as babies, taken from their families, and are now forced to live in small spaces.
The capturing of these animals is very harsh and scary, especially to a little baby. They are usually separated from their mothers with bombs that are thrown into the water. Some don't even survive being captured. The mothers of these babies are forced to watch as either their children are taken away, or killed.
If you think that is bad, it's even worse for the ones now living in SeaWorld. In a very emotional documentary called Blackfish, we follow the story of an orca named Tilikum and his experience at SeaWorld. He shares a tank with two other orcas who are constantly bullying him. Orca attacks are powerful, and attacks made on Tilikum often leave him with bloody wounds and scars.
Most orcas suffer from similar situations. This usually leads to depression, which causes a collapsed dorsal fin and can even lead to a shorter lifespan. SeaWorld repeatedly lies about its orca facts to keep themselves in business. Most orcas can live to be 100 years old, but in captivity they usually live to be 40. SeaWorld tells its guests that 40 years is the average lifespan for orcas, even though that scientific research proves that that is not right. Also, most orcas in captivity are usually seen with a collapsed dorsal fin. SeaWorld would have you believe that this is because of old age, but it's actually a symptom of depression.
This terrible treatment of orcas doesn't just affect them, but it also affects us. Being forced to do tricks and live in terrible conditions can mess with anybody's mind. It has even led to some orcas to severely hurt and even kill some of the trainers. It's not the trainer's fault though. They didn't capture the animal and force it to live as a small space with barely any orca-to-orca interaction. The area that these creatures live in is so tiny, it is like a bathtub to them. This amount of space isn't enough for an animal to live in. The situation is also similar to that of a domestic farm animal who lives in very tight, dirty spaces. These type of living conditions are the fault of big companies who continue to treat animals this way, even though they've seen the effects on orcas and humans.
Most orcas in SeaWorld, like Tilikum, are usually seen just floating in the water without even moving. The pain and trauma they've endured is too much for any creature to handle. SeaWorld also takes other wild animals out of their natural habitat, such as dolphins and sea lions, along with orcas, and many animals face the same issues and conditions that the orcas face.
Another issue many wild animals face is poaching, which affects different animals like rhinos, elephants, tigers, bears, gorillas, and many other animals. Poaching is the hunting and killing of animals for profit and affects the lives of many wild animals and even causes issue in governments worldwide. It can also lead to many consequences on different ecosystems and environments which the targeted animals live in.
According to multiple sources, poaching has caused a large decrease in the number of elephants and rhinos which live in the wild. One source stated that before the 20th century, the worldwide population of elephants was a few million, but because of poaching, today elephants are endangered and there are only a few thousand of them left. Another source stated that in countries like South Africa, rhinos were being poached at a rate of 2 per day in 2013, causing a huge depletion in rhinos in the wild.
The poaching of elephants and rhinos also causes many issues within governments everywhere. Because they are poached for their valuable ivory, the price of ivory has gone up and black markets have come to rise to power. One source stated that this has caused a big debate on if countries should allow for the ivory trade to happen or not.
Poaching also affects different animals like tigers, bears, and gorillas. These creatures are poached for different parts of their body, such as their pelts, bones, and organs, which many countries believe are useful for medical and other herbal remedies. Poaching can also negatively affect an environment. As one source describes, it alters the local wildlife and interrupts nature.
Another big problem is animal trafficking. This is when animals, usually rare or endangered, are taken from their homes and are sold for a lot of money. This is extremely bad for the animals because the people capturing them only care about the money and not the animal's safety or well-being.
Most of the time, these animals travel in small cages with barely enough food or water. They usually end up getting hurt or even die from this experience. This terrible action not only hurts the animals, but it hurts the environment too. When an environment loses a part that helps keep bugs in check or helps a type of plant to continue growing, it could lead to an extinction of a species.
Another problem we face with animal trafficking is the care for animals if and after they are saved. Once animals are saved, many people think that it's over and the animals are all saved. However, once the animals are rescued, they don't have anywhere to go. Most are left to fend for themselves in unknown territories, or some might still have an injury. The conditions after the trafficking can even be worse than during it.
Today, many of these atrocities are still taking place, even in our own country. However, many measures are now being taken worldwide to stop the cruelty that these majestic animals face. One example is the ivory burn that took place recently in Kenya. This was done to try and put an end to the illegal ivory trade, but more still needs to be done.
In order to fully exterminate the cruelty that wild and domestic animals face, we must have more restraints on hunting animals and better control over the wild creatures. We also must push for our government to create better protection laws over both domestic and wild animals. Plus, we must face big businesses so that they see their wrongdoings, and hopefully we will be able to rescue these animals who are being held against their will.
Thank you very much.